Good morning, Steph. Canada is loosening more travel restrictions, but you will still have to wait before heading across the border for a vacation. Starting today, fully vaccinated travelers from the U.S. are allowed to enter Canada. Under the new rules, travelers must be immunized with a Health Canada approved vaccine at least 14 days ago, provide a negative COVID test less than 72 hours old, use the ArriveCan app, and must still provide a quarantine plan just in case. This is the first time in 17 months the country is reopening land borders for non-essential travel. U.S. restrictions on non-essential traveling for Canadians will continue at land crossings. However, air, sea, and rail travelers are exempt. Reaction continues to pour in after one of the country's longest-serving premiers passes away. Former Ontario Premier Bill Davis died yesterday at 92. His family says he was surrounded by loved ones, passing of natural causes in Brampton. The former Conservative Premier held the position from 1971 to 1985 and is considered one of the province's most influential premiers. During his term in office, he increased healthcare and education systems, stopped the Spadina Expressway through Toronto, and limited rent increase. Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown says he leaves behind a notable legacy.
Everything that ranges from the Charter of Rights and Freedoms that he helped broker with Pierre Elliott Trudeau, to Ontario's college education system, to the first woman cabinet minister. He was ahead of the times on equity issues. He was just a phenomenal public servant, the definition of decency. And on a personal note, it's devastating. You know, he was a friend and a mentor, and it's a big loss for our city, but I believe it's a big loss for Canada.
Mayor John Tory says Davis was a great mentor and his death means, quote, Ontario and Canada have lost a giant. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said he was, quote, deeply saddened to hear of his death. We're taking you to a live look now at Queen's Park, where flags have been lowered for half-mast in honor of Ontario's 18th Premier. He is survived by his wife, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. To the streets now. A violent 24 hours in the GTHA. We start with one man in hospital following an overnight shooting in the city's West End. Toronto police say just before 12:45 this morning, they received calls about a man being shot in the Wilson and Avenue Road area. Paramedics rushed the victim to St. Michael's Hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Officers are also investigating a second scene in the Highway 400 and Finch Avenue area. Police believe the shooting may have possibly happened in this area. And in Mississauga, police are on the lookout for suspects after 3 people were shot last night. It happened near Huron, Ontario on the 401 at around 8:30. When officers arrived, the victims were not found at the scene, but shortly after, they received another call from one of them about their injuries. 2 female victims took themselves to hospital and were treated for non-life-threatening injuries. One man was taken to a trauma center, but his injuries are also considered non-life-threatening. Peel police are asking for the public's help in the investigation.
There was basically a house party happening at a residence in this area with up to 100 people in attendance. When officers arrived, they have spoken to approximately 8 people, so 8 witnesses. So we know there's about 92 people out there that have not yet had the opportunity to speak to our investigators, and we are encouraging them, contact our investigators or provide any information you have on this incident through Crime Stoppers.
Police believe the suspect or suspects fled the area shortly after the shooting took place. There's no suspect description at this time. Hamilton police are also asking for help after a man was stabbed to death yesterday on James Street North in the city's downtown core. It happened just before noon. The 31-year-old victim was rushed to hospital where he later died. 23-year-old Jadon Shakid Sirio is now wanted for first-degree murder in connection to this incident. He is described as approximately 5'9", 160 pounds, and was last seen wearing a dark hoodie and black pants. The investigation continues after 4 people were shot, 2 fatally, yesterday morning near Kensington Market. Officers were called to the corner of Spadina Avenue and Nassau Street just before 6 a.m. for reports of shots fired. 2 people were pronounced dead at the scene, and another 2 victims remain in hospital in life-threatening condition. Police say the victims range from 28 to 43 years of age. No suspect information is yet available, but police are expected to provide an update later today. The Tokyo Olympics have wrapped, marking an end to one of the most unusual summer games ever. Fireworks wrapped up a subdued ceremony with no fans in the stands and most athletes already back in their home countries due to pandemic restrictions. The already postponed games were shrouded with controversy, mostly stemming from the organizers having the games go on despite protests for it to be canceled. Despite Olympic-related challenges, Team Canada won a total of 24 medals. Over in Paris, crowds gathered across city landmarks cheering for French Olympic athletes returning from the Tokyo Games, but locals were also celebrating as officials began preparations for the 2024 Paris Olympics. French fighter jets flew past the Eiffel Tower to paint the colors of the national flag when the Olympic flag was passed to Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo. City organizers have vowed a more open games, which will put some competitions near the city's landmarks, including the Eiffel Tower and the Palace of Versailles. And though the Tokyo Olympics was a scaled-down affair, the games still carry a big price tag. 680's Chris McCusker up next with those details.